You walk into the Mishkan and you see a table, a candelabra, and an ark. But what if I told you that you're not looking at regular furniture, but rather at the spiritual pipeline of the universe? And what if I told you that hidden within the structure of the Mishkan is the same secret encoded within the Magen David and even within the shape of the pyramids of Egypt? A triangle pointing up, a triangle pointing down, and 6 converging into one center. Welcome to the Parsha you thought you knew. The Mishkan has patterns, and when you see them you realize that there's no such thing as random within our religion. Nothing should be taken for granted. Our rabbis teach us that when you daven Shemona Esrei, if you want more parnasa, tilt yourself a little bit more to your left, and you'll be facing northeast, and you'll be facing towards the direction of the Shulchan. On the Shulchan were the lechem apanim, the 12 loaves of bread, and as we know, we refer to money as dough. But if you want to achieve more wisdom, then tilt yourself a little bit more to your right, towards southeast, and you'll be facing towards the menorah. And the menorah represents light, and light represents wisdom. As we know, if you ever watch a cartoon character come up with a good idea, you see a light bulb pop up on top of his head. Or, I'm sure you heard of somebody say, allow me to illuminate you. Illuminate you means allow me to show you the way, or to clarify something for you. Allow me to share some wisdom with you. Or, if I want to call somebody smart, I could say they are very bright. So wisdom and light goes hand in hand. So if you want to achieve wisdom, you have to tap into the energy of the menorah. But I want to understand, what's the secret of the menorah? In order for us to understand the secret of the menorah, we have to pay attention to the structure and to the design of the menorah. The menorah is comprised of different parts. There's the 11 buttons, the 9 flowers, 7 sticks, and of course the 22 cups, which altogether comes out to 49. Plus the menorah itself equals 50. 50 resembles the 50 gates of wisdom. And that's no coincidence, because that's precisely what the menorah is all about. It's all about wisdom. But if you really want to understand how the menorah represents wisdom, we have to take a look at how many sticks there are on the menorah. 3 to the right, 3 to the left, and 1 right in the center, which altogether equals 7. But why not more? Why not less? Why are there exactly 7 sticks? What is so special about the number 7? If you want to understand the essence of a number, you have to look at the letter in the Hebrew alphabet that resembles that number. In the alphabet, the letter that resembles the 7 is the Zayin. Zayin is a very unique and very special letter. To understand what's so special about it, we have to take a few things into consideration. We have to understand why it looks the way it does, and why it's configured the way it is. We have to try to understand why it sounds the way it does, and we have to try to understand why its numeric value equals 7. So let's begin with why it looks the way it does. Our rabbis tell us that the first time you find a letter within a word within the Torah, that is the essence of that letter. The first time we find the letter Zayin within the Torah is within the word Zaro. Zaro means seed. And our rabbis tell us that that is the essence of the Zayin. Just like the seed is something that gives life, so too the Zayin is something that provides life and energy. In fact, look at the Zayin, it looks like a seed. It looks like a dot on top, and then you have the line that comes out of it. Because that's the job of the Zayin. This world is made up of the number 6. We have 6 days of creation. We have the 6 directions, north, south, east, west, up and down. And they say that the Satan's number is 6, 6, and 6 because he's all about this world. But if you want to elevate this world, if you want to go higher, then you need an element of 7. This world in reality is dead, it's lifeless. But if you want to give it life, then you need the number 7. A perfect example of this is Shabbat. You have 6 days of the week, and they're lifeless. But in order to give them life, you need Shabbat. Shabbat is what gives nourishment, it's what gives sustenance, it's what gives life. And so that's the secret of the Zayin. It looks like the Zera because it gives life. It represents the 7 because it's Shabbat that's giving off the nourishment. It's what gives off the strength to the other days of the week. And anytime you see something giving life, that represents the letter Zayin. Once we understand why its number is 7, and once we understand why it looks the way it does, maybe now we could try to figure out why it sounds the way it does. In Hebrew, the word for mobility, the word for movement is Zaz, Zayin, Zayin. Now that was done by the Zayin, get it? The Zayin. The Zayin is something that gives life. And anything that has life has movement. That's why Zaz is spelled Zayin Zayin, because it shows that it has some sort of life to it. And in fact, this is why we say in Birkat Hamazon, Ha'el Hazan Otanu, Hashem, you sustain us. That's the secret of the Zayin. Anything that represents sustenance, that's giving forth life. In fact, when Moshe Rabbeinu was introduced to God by the burning bush, and Hashem came to him and he said, I want you to save the Jewish people out of Egypt, Moshe says, but how am I going to do this? Hashem says, V'zeh lecha ha'ot, this is your sign. But what does Hashem mean by this is your sign? Hashem was referring to the staff of Moshe, which looked like the letter Zion, looked like a cane. It looked like a stick with the top, and that represents the Zion. And Hashem was saying, this is your sign. That this world is made up of the number 6, but if you want to manipulate nature, if you want to control this world, then you have to have the Zion, because that's what gives its life. That's what gives it its functionality. That's why Moshe could now take this staff and you could change water into blood. He's able to bring frogs. He's able to turn the ground into lice. He's able to bring animals. He's able to bring havoc onto Egypt and send down hailstones. And he's able to even turn light into darkness and bring the death of the firstborns. And of course, even split the sea. That is the power of the Zion. If we could understand all this, we could now understand the secret of the Magen David. The Magen David is really two triangles that are infused into each other. They're intertwined. And the Magen David has 6 points, but the main part of the Magen David is the center. But what does it resemble? They say that Hashem has revealed this symbol of the Magen David to David HaMelech. And every time David will go to war, he would take the symbol with him. He would put it on his shield, and he will have the Magen David on his shield, and this is what he would fight with, the Magen David. But what is the significance of the Magen David? What does it symbolize? Pay attention to how the Magen David is made up of 2 triangles, one pointing up and one pointing down. The one pointing up is pointing up at Hashem. The one pointing down is pointing down at earth. And we want to show that we could put in our ishtadlut, we could put in our effort, but in the end of the day, it's all in Hashem's hands if we will succeed. And so if you fuse these two together, you realize that we alone cannot accomplish anything without God's help. We need God's divine assistance to be able to accomplish anything. And that's what the Star of David is all about. The Star of David has 3 triangles pointing upwards and then 3 triangles pointing downwards to show you that you need God's help in everything that you do. And this could connect to even the pyramid within Egypt. You see, there's a study called the study of pyramidology, and they notice that there's something strange about pyramids, where if they put something into the pyramid, somehow it's able to preserve it. They took milk and it doesn't spoil inside the pyramid. They took even flowers and they were able to grow faster, and they didn't die as fast within the pyramid as they would outside of the pyramid. They noticed that they would put a dull blade within the pyramid and somehow it would become sharper. And it shows that there's some sort of power within the pyramid that gives preservation, that it keeps giving life to things. In fact, they say, how did Yosef HaTzadik preserve food for 7 years without having it rot and spoil? And they explain perhaps he put it within the pyramids, and that's how he was able to save the food from the 7 years of plenty for the 7 years of famine. And that was his chachma. And if you look at a pyramid, from an angle you would see 2 triangles that are coming together. And if you take those 2 triangles and you play around with them and you put them together, you will get a Magen David, which again, the Magen David is 6 points with the center, which equals 7. And 7 always resembles something that preserves things, that gives it life. And that's what the pyramid is about. This is the secret of the Magen David. But how does this all tie back to the menorah? Well, let's take a look at the menorah. The menorah has 7 parts, 7 sticks. You have 3 to the right, 3 to the left, and then 1 in the center. Does that sound familiar to you? The Magen David is exactly that. The 3 lights on the right side of the menorah, that represents the light, that represents Olam Haba, that represents the next world spirituality, that's Hashem. But then on the left side, that's Parnasa. As we said, that's where the Shulchan is. And if you want to tap into the physical realm, then you need to go to the left side. And so when you take these 2 sides and you put them together, what you're doing is you're showing Hashem, I am nothing without you. And that's what the menorah is doing. It's coming to that center point to show that in order for me to succeed in this world, I need God's help. And this is precisely why the menorah looks the way it does, because that's its essence. It's trying to show you that in order for you to get wisdom, you have to realize that where your wisdom is coming from. True wisdom is understanding that Hashem is the one who provided you with the brains. And you can't take credit for anything in this world. Oh, I did good on this business because I had this crafty idea. I was successful because of my brains. I did good in school because Hashem gave me the knowledge and the understanding and have a high IQ. It's all Hashem. And so the menorah, which resembles wisdom, is also resembling that without Hashem we're nothing. And all our brains and all our success and all our crafty, thoughtfulness and all of our wisdom and all of our success due to our understanding of things and being able to come up with good ideas is all thanks to the one above. It's all thanks to Hashem. That's the secret of the menorah. That's how it ties in with the Magen David and of course even the pyramids of Egypt. And this is the symbolism of the menorah. It comes to remind us that all your brains and all your hard work in life, in the end of the day, is nothing without Hashem. And in fact, this is